Hello there, I am Sarang Deshpande, Business Manager at TraceLink. Welcome to another episode of Orchestrating Outcomes for External Manufacturing, brought to you by TraceLink. Today, we will be focusing on brand owners' perspective on supply chain digitalization. And I'm pleased to have with me Jeff Borden, VP of Supply Chain at Sandoz. I have known Jeff for about 9 years now. We had great time working together at Sandoz on variety of projects, ranging from SNOP rollout to a host of supply chain analytics initiatives, focusing on site performance, production throughput, customer OTIF, supplier OTIF, days of coverage adherence, lead time improvement, back order management, and the list just goes on. The focus, of course, was to try and use new and upcoming technologies and achieve highest level of automation, but keeping in mind that we need to achieve the key business objectives was always imperative. So having said that, I just hand it over to Jeff, and Jeff, could you maybe just introduce yourself to the audience and give us a little background about what roles you have had in the past and responsibilities that you have had? Would be super to get started with that.
Yes, first and foremost, thank you, Sarang, and the TraceLink team for having me. I really feel honored and special to be here and share some of my experiences. I've been working for 26 years in supply chain. I'm actually a supply chain graduate from Penn State University. So in the major that I've been in, and I've been in supply chain my entire career. Started off in warehousing distribution, ran a DC, ran the receiving piece, the warehousing piece, and inventory control. And honestly, inventory management is sort of where my niche was earlier in my career. Big data guy, so that's one of the reasons Sarang and I have stayed close together. We have similar personalities when it comes to data and master data and inventory management. I joined the pharma industry, started in 2007. So I spent 17 years so far within the pharma industry. Started at Teva, where I was in charge of inventory management, master data planning, and worked in SNOP. I did a lot of BI, Oracle BI analytics at that time, really understanding the power of not just data, but the story that data can tell and making sure how to tell it. Really had fun at that point in my career. Then I moved to Novartis, where I worked in as planning through the Sandoz organization. Worked on master data, inventory, demand planning, and aligned with our commercial colleagues, really understanding how the industry works and how big pharma and I'll call it generic industry differ and how they work together in similar type of technologies. From there, I moved to a company called Curia, which was a CDMO, global CDMO. Worked on global sales and operation planning, really worked along to set up a process. And for those of you that have ever done that, starting and creating something new from something existing is very challenging, yet really fulfilling and fun.
Yep.
Then I moved into global supply chain and led global supply chain at Curia for a few years. And now I'm back at Sandoz. So currently I'm responsible for Canada and North America supply chain organizations.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. That's quite a bit of a breadth and depth of experience that you have had. And if we focus on the topic that we are trying to tackle today, you have had a very unique journey in a sense that you have been on the both sides of the table, on the side of how brand owners view supply chain digitalization, as well as on the CMO side of the things. So maybe can we start off talking a little bit about what does exactly supply chain digitalization means to you as it pertains to both a brand owner and from a CMO lens? Would be good to start off with that thought.
Yeah, I mean, when you think of digitalization and technologies, you think of IT systems, right? That's what most people think about. I think about it as you have a technology which then allows you to do something else within your organization in some form or fashion. And there's a whole bunch of the phrases of AI, synergies, fit for purpose, all the consultant type terms out there. To me, really, it's how do we streamline our processes and use technology to help us do that? really enhancing like visibility. How do we use this to really use something that's helping us visually to understand our suppliers, our customers, our logistics, our demands, forecasting, what have you. Also improve decision making, right? So you actually take something and do something with it, not just have some fancy charts, but you actually make decisions from it, right? Using this technology or this improvement of process to help make decisions. And automation's a big part of it too. I'm old school, been doing this a while, and you know what? I'll pop in Excel, and I could do it better than anyone in Excel or any system, but that's not really the way it's supposed to work. Using our systems and using automation to help us press a button and get the story is something that we really that's what I envision. And also then minimizing our risks. I'd say how do we look and say, based off of all of this, we're going to make this decision, and here's the risk to that decision. Here's the return on investments. Here's the pros. Here's the con, and let's all get in bed together with it and move forward. Again, it gets a little bit tricky, but it really is a way to improve what you're currently doing. That's how I view it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and this is a great discussion, right? I mean, there were some very key points that you hit, which is about streamlining the process or improving the decision making or minimizing the risk, the return on investment. So, with so many key elements associated with supply chain digitalization, we still see that both the brand owners and CMOs, they are not getting on this journey as fast as we would love them to. So, what are some of the factors that are preventing them from getting on this journey? Is it the cost or the speed of implementation of the systems, or what are some of the key uh, roadblocks that they encounter when they want to get on this journey?
Yeah, to me, it comes down to four main things. First and foremost, it's training and adoption. People put in something, they check the box, they walk away. There might be one or two users that understand it, and that's the second point, expertise. Do you really have expertise in these types of situations and all of this? Or do you take your new technology, dump it into Excel or PowerPoint or Access or some sort of external tool to make it better? Like that's not what this is about, right? So between the training and then I'll call it corporate adoption, the expertise side of it is most people don't know how to use it properly before we walk away. They're either too afraid to admit it, or they don't get it, or they feel threatened, or we don't hire the right staff for it, or it's not a like fit for purpose type organizational tool that is needed. Um, Leadership is a big part of this too. And that goes into all three of these. If without the proper leadership to make sure these things are used, adopted, and vetted, they don't go anywhere, right? And understanding that these are processes that are created to support the tools. It's sometimes the other way around. How do we use this new tool to do what we did before? Just make it easier. That's not always the best idea. Using it to be better and to look outside the box instead of what you're currently doing is something. You know, these things get in our way and get in the way. I've seen in many organizations where we put in rapid response or we put in this BI system. Yeah, but what do you do with it? And are you using it, to its fullest extent? These are things that are allowed to happen and then fall back into bad habits and doing what you've always done instead of being different and going forward.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. I mean, some great points here, right? I mean, it's at the end of the change management becomes a very big piece, and you need support all the way from top down and bottom up for everybody to participate in this journey. So, very, very apt points made there. So, I mean, talking a little more about the supply chain setups that you have been involved in, I think you have seen a variety of supply chain setups. I mean, I know we worked on certain sites which were only dedicated to one market, versus there were a lot of internal sites that were serving multiple markets, or we have some dedicated CMOs who are tied to a brand owner, or they are serving multiple brand owners. So, what are some of the biggest supply chain challenges when it comes to interacting with these external manufacturers or with your CMOs as compared to your internal supply sites? So what are some of the challenges that you think we encounter?
So it's an interesting question because, sometimes your internal sites feel like external sites, and sometimes your external sites feel like internal sites. It depends really, and what it comes down to is relationship and partnership. Right now, in my opinion, it's very transactional. And when you perform a transaction, it's not personal. It becomes like a commodity based thing. You give me this, I'll give you the money, see you later. That's not the way to do it in my mind. And we get stuck into this process. And unfortunately, a lot of these companies going forward are turning from being bought by private equities. And what is a private equity's job? Is short-term gain and short-term improvement. So, lack of, like, I'll call it true partnership, true alignment of, I'll call it understanding what we are actually looking for. Sometimes we don't even know what we actually want. We think we do, but we sometimes don't. Sometimes we need help but are afraid to ask it. And then understanding short versus long-term relationships and understanding how this really plays into I'll call it successful, supply, cost, all those things. All those things happen, and the longer term you do it, the more success you can have.
Yeah. I mean, and you kind of touched on one of the next questions I was going to ask, which is that, hey, I mean, a brand owner can talk a lot about digital integration or initiating a digital connectivity with the CMOs, but then this digital integration always is a two-way traffic. You want your CMOs to play the ball as well, and as you mentioned, right, they might have their focus could be on short-term gains, or they could really have their own set of challenges or business goals, or who knows, they could be having their own system challenges that they are encountering as well.
Yep.
So what is that something that the brand owners can do to have the CMOs join them on their digital journey, or why should the CMOs be willing to participate in this digital journey of the brand owners? Maybe some pointers on that would be great.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Listen, there's always the cost versus quality type conversation, right? And at the end of the day, CMOs, as we'll call them, I'm generally speaking, they're there to make money, and
Mm.
they prioritize on money. I mean, how many times I could say I have said, yeah, you'll get your delivery next Friday, and then next Friday comes, oh no, we had an issue. And the issue is, and I've been on both sides of this, the issue is, hey, someone offered us more money to push you out and push them in, and that other person's more strategic to us. These things happen all of the time. And it's not like an honest conversation, like picking up the phone and having an understanding of, hey, will it be okay if we push you off a week? And understand this, and working in that partnership. Sometimes, those surprises kill us and drive me insane. I don't like to be surprised. I love good news. I don't like bad news, but surprises are not acceptable. And those are the
Right.
things that I think partnerships in this situation don't do enough of. Also understanding, like, the regulatory landscape. Sometimes we know best. Sometimes we don't know best. And sharing that level of, I'll call it, expertise, and being okay with it, or hearing different perspectives. We have a new excipient coming in, and we never filed it into your DMF, like things like that. Understanding that, and understanding that that's something we should be talking about. Again, it's less transactional, more relationship based, where we should have these types of situations. And like US trade compliance, it's so important, and it's so critical that within shipping, I'll call it, in a way that is regulatorily approved and safe, and all of those things. Sometimes expertise aren't in these areas. They're manufacturing expertise. They don't know that they have to put an OR&D label on it, or they need to have the sterilization, in G10. All like, these are things that sharing of these responsibilities in the beginning, and understanding that partnership prevents all of those reworks, all of those quality events, all of those temp excursions, things of that nature, right? So this is the open, honest dialogue that I think is so critically important. Again, having that long-term forecast. What does it also show? It shows we're in it to win it. We're in it with you. You're a partner. Here's our 5-year plan. and them working with us on that 5-year plan. Do you want a delivery every month? Do you want a delivery 3 months? Do you want a delivery once a year? We're trying to do this to save money on our side. Does that work for you? Can we ship a full truck instead of LTL? Like, those things don't always happen, right? Sometimes we're scared of our customers and vendors that way. And then conversely, sometimes you beat your vendors up because you can. And it's a two-way street, right? As you mentioned before, and then like minimal stuff, like 1980s stuff, like EDI, VMI, these types of activities, offering those, but taking it to this step further of it's almost 2025, and we have AI out there. How are you integrating that into delivering our product to us on time in full, and what can you do to ensure going forward? And is it having algorithms around AI? Is it around forecast and demand planning and master data? Like, all of that stuff, there's so much technology out there, but again, if we don't use it, or we're afraid to talk about it or make that investment because we have a short-term transactional relationship, we're missing out. So to me, these are areas where we could really, really, for lack of a better term, get in bed together with and make sure that we're doing it. We're both in it to win it.
Yeah. I think the general theme is that, hey, get away from this transactional relationship and get into a more strategic relationship. You are not mom and pop shop where you just go and buy candies and move on. This is serious business we are talking about. We are here to save patient lives at the end of the day. So you just need to be a little more strategic and not so short-sighted, and look to the strategic angle also. So one other question I always had, right? I mean, this is a very uh, 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 interesting question I've always had. If you look at all the discussion we have had so far, it seems that digital integrations is a mutually beneficial initiative. It will benefit both the CMOs as well as the brand owners. But who do you think has the bigger responsibility in initiating this journey and uplifting this industry as a whole? I mean, there are arguments to be made on the both side. One argument could be that, hey, the CMO's core purpose is to provide services. So this digital integration is a service that they should be really offering to their customers. But then there is also another argument that says that the brand owners really are at the center of the entire game. The buck starts and stops with the brand owner, so they should be the one who should be taking the baton and running with it. What are your views on this? Who should really be taking the lead on transforming the industry as a whole in terms of getting on this digital journey?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and it's very perspective driven on which side of the fence you're on. I'll take a step back and be the consultant looking in at both. To me, it's very equal. You want to go with a provider which gives you the services you need. But to your point, sometimes you don't know what you fully need. I might need molecule A, and could you produce that for me? Or can you put a label on this for me and do a rework? Or, but they may offer a plethora of other services which could make life easier. As the industry tries to shrink its vendors, and we become more streamlined, really both need to be in it to win it. And that mentality, and again, I hate to use the word partnership again, but it's really one of these situations that if you create a one-sided advantage and you have leverage on one side or the other, it becomes more transactional and more, listen, as the service, not provider, but creating service by, going to a vendor, I have leverage because I'm paying you and you're going to do what I say, right? And that mentality isn't always the best, right? But it's the truth, right? We have the leverage. You could say yes or no, of course, but if you need the business, you'll say yes. And it goes downstream for us in the generic farm industry. We have no leverage with our customers, and they nickel and dime us, and make generics commodity based, right? So to me, it's instead of having and using that leverage, it's how do we become to a scenario where we both win, no zero sum game. Everyone wins in this scenario. Of course, the CDMO has to deliver. That is critical. But the vendor as well has to provide what is needed so that vendor can deliver. And not all the time that happens, right? So, lack of response, not a clear S&OP process, not a clear term on demand, changing dates. Oh, hold it to the end of the year. I want you to hold the inventory, not me. Things like that aren't fully aligned. And to me, this is where I think it's important, and it ultimately, you could say it's the vendor's responsibility to provide that, but it's, in my mind, the CMO's responsibility to ask the right questions and not just give us what we want, but also be the little bit of a salesman, a little bit of a consultant to help us and guide us with what else they can offer. I don't see a lot of that in the industry. I see a lot of very transactional situations, and then we pull out the contract. You didn't do what you said you're going to do, or again, you didn't deliver within the certified lead times, and those types of things damage relationships. And sometimes they're necessary. Sometimes you got to flex your muscle on both sides, but you always have to do what you said you're going to do, and that is the most important thing. Do what you said you're going to do.
Yep. No, I mean, and this almost like it concludes, right, in a sense that if both the partners are there to win it and they are looking to this relationship as a strategic relationship, this question may not even come that who should initiate this journey. It will almost be an automatic conclusion that they will come to, that hey, as a part of getting into a more strategic alignment, one of the things that we need to do is to have a tighter digital integration, and it will almost be a very obvious next step that both of them can come together and get this going. So that kind of makes sense that it probably is not responsibility of A or B. It's a joint responsibility that they should be really tackling.